Like a train, you'll hear me coming from 100 miles away. I don't ever remember running as fast as when I'm after you to stay. When I tell you that I promise, that's exactly what I mean. It's you, yeah, it's always been you, and everyone around can see. It's true, yeah, it's a dream come true, that you're the only one for me. And darling, you're proof that we're always gonna make it through. Cause you only wanna be with me, and I only wanna be with you. Oh, yeah, I only wanna be with you. Like a storm cloud in the distance, you can feel me moving in. There's a pressure and resistance I hope we never have to feel again. It's you, yeah, it's always been you, and everyone around can see. It's true, yeah, it's a dream come true, that you're the only one for me. And darling, you're proof that we're always gonna make it through. Cause you only wanna be with me, and I only wanna be with you. Oh, yeah, I only wanna be with you. When I told you that I promised, and I said I'd never leave, I'll be standing here beside you to the end of everything. It's you, it's always you, and everyone around can see. It's true, it's a dream come true, you're the only one for me. And darling, you're proof that you're always gonna make it through. Cause you only wanna be with me, and I only wanna be with you. Yeah, it's always been you, and everyone around can see that it's true, it's a dream come true, that you're the only one for me. And darling, you're proof that we're always gonna make it through. Cause you only wanna be with me, and I only wanna be with you. Yeah, I only wanna be with you. Like a train, you'll hear me coming from 100 miles away.
Love like wildfire, I was your entire world until I stood alone in a storm. You took the sunshine, the flames are gone now, and I watched you walk straight out of that door. Promises got lost in the dust, your boots by the door, you're not coming home. Love like wildfire, I was your entire world until I wasn't anymore. Oh, heartache, you left me behind. That's not a man, only a coward. Gone now, you're chasing the wind, no longer my man. You're just a
Welcome. Good evening. So, couple of people already jumping in. Thanks for coming. I see that Scott the Thien is here, the master of firmware. Alexander is here. Zion is here. William is here. Spline is here. Awesome. Good evening. So, tech check was good. We're doing great. My friends, it's an honor to have you here. Last week, we couldn't do something here. I was completely busy rebuilding the studio, moving stuff in the basement. So I have moved my Bamboo Lab printers over here because in the other room we had a delivery and it was so dusty that I had to move the printers out of the workshop. So currently the workshop isn't usable for 3D printers anymore. And so I moved basically most of the printers in this room. I have another one up there. We're gonna take a look in a second. Because if you remember, we had this printing enclosure that we built over the last couple of weeks. I wanted to show you the final thing before we do the actual main gig, right? So the main gig of tonight is, of course, we're gonna unbox the SV08, hopefully getting it to work and print something. So I have no idea if this is going to work out. It's always with these kind of live unboxings, there could be surprises. But yeah, before we start, I want to show you quickly the result of the build that we had been doing in the last, I don't know, was it 4 different streams over the last weeks, I guess. So I have finished this printing enclosure, everything with this enclosure. Let me double check if you can actually see something here. Yeah, so the camera is very close, so I'm probably not in the picture, but the enclosure is fully 3D printed, except of course the acrylic panels. We have been doing this for the last 4 weeks, so the 4 live streams that we had previously have been printing, building, printing, building. And this is the final thing. Last time we have mounted the doors. I didn't have the magnets here, but I have finally attached the self-adhesive magnets, so you can see how this works. So the doors are kept closed with the magnets, not too strong, so we can just still easily open, but it's just enough to hold it, which is actually very nice. The door is closing nicely and flush. And then I have put the Ender 3 V3 inside because that was the printer that we have been using for all of the parts of this enclosure build. 8 kilograms of material went into this whole thing, which it's hard to believe if you see this because it's like while it's finished, it still looks quite, I would say lightweight, but it's not. It's very heavy actually, and very sturdy. And all of the material here, all of the 8 kilogram, a little bit is left over, but yeah, most of the material is already printed. We still have something left over for the side panels, which could be another project for the future where we could have some additional tool mounts on one of the sides here. But so far, so good. It is done. I also, like, we can maybe show that here. I also have these, let me take the camera off. Let me see if this works. So I also printed these 2 outlets here. One is the ventilation outlet. Basically, this is currently closed, but you can unscrew this cap here, and then we can attach a 100 millimeter hose to suck out anything toxic. That's going to happen. And then we have the electronic cable inlet, which can be closed. So obviously, if we have a ventilation going on, we also want this to be somewhat closed. So when we suck out the air from here, we don't want to have the air coming in at least not everything here. So we want actually maybe to come through the doors or underneath, well, because there's a little gap here that I currently left for the airflow. But yeah, that's probably a detail that I need to figure out whether this works and how it can actually ventilate out the airflow from this huge enclosure. So that's the final thing. What surprised me actually mostly was how much of the sound is, or maybe the picture is not visible anymore now. Why? I have no idea. Camera went off, for what reason? Why did it not work? I hope you saw most of this. At least I hope so. So the idea of this is first of all to keep toxic fumes in, to suck them out using to ventilate them out, and also to reduce the noise of the printer, which is surprisingly working quite well. I tested out a few things and I realized that you can't barely hear the printer anymore if it's printing in a normal speed. So that's actually great. And so yeah, I would say this was a successful build. So far, so good. Now, for all of you, you probably know, since you have been here for a while. Let me see why the cable is so under stress. So we probably all know that we have a 3D printer giveaway going. Information is right here in the corner. This is the printer that we are giving away in July. The rules and how it works, you will find if you watch the stream on Twitch and enter giveaway, !giveaway. And then you will see the information. Why double exclamation mark? No, give away. There we go. So on Twitch, you will see the information about the giveaway. And just by watching the stream live, you will earn nozzle points, and then you can spend them on the giveaway at any given point of time in the future. But you still have to watch the streams live. So I think enough about that. We want to come to the main gig. Want to say welcome to all of the people that have been joining. So Fonum, hello. Evo Clarks, William, I think I will already. No, there. William Martin Harris, hello, welcome. RDSPT, thanks for watching. Marco Big Dog, hello, hello. Great to have you all here. 10 people on Twitch and 6 people on YouTube. Pleasure to have you here. Let's get this started to unbox this printer. So this printer has not been sent to me by SOVOL. Just want to let you know. This is actually, I was so lucky to get into the first batch of the Kickstarter. So I actually managed to buy this printer in the cheapest tier of the Kickstarter. So I was also one of the first people to get it. And then it was just sitting in my basement because I had zero opportunity to do an unboxing in the last weeks. I had to finish this other project first. And now it's time. It's time to do it. And we want to figure out if this printer can actually be a competitive option. If you were ever to consider getting a Voron 2.4, which is effectively, essentially this is a Voron printer in a new, I would say in a more streamlined, industrialized version for mass production. So lots of things has been unchanged, but a lot of things have also been changed by SOVOL to make this printer producible in higher volumes. So injection molded parts, different aluminium extrusions, which are easier to produce, obviously, and also easier to assemble. And a lot of other things have been changed, but a lot of things have not been changed. And so I never built a Voron 2.4 yet. So I would say for me this is an interesting question that I wanna answer here, or wanna see if we can answer it. Is this actually more worth it versus building a Voron 2.4? Because essentially what you get is a printer that has a really big build volume. I think this one has also 350 by 350 by roughly 350, or if it's 340, I don't know. But it is basically a print volume where you probably could never complain that you cannot print something. Though usually you should be able to print anything with this printer. Most prints should fit in this volume. And it should also be fast enough for most people. And you still have the option to tinker around with the firmware, because it is running Clipper, and so you have, if you're more experienced, you probably have also the option to do a lot of modifications yourself, which people are already heavily involved with. If you're looking on printables in the usual places, then you will see that there's already so many modifications available for this printer, so many interesting upgrades, and we're not going to apply any upgrades tonight, but we're still, like, I'm mostly interested to see how this printer works out of the box, and then probably over the next couple of weeks I might consider doing some upgrades, some changes, depending on how good it actually works out of the box, if I see the need for this actually. So we want to, of course, follow the manual and hope for the best in terms of how good the manual is. And yeah, let's see what you have to say in the chat. His printing area makes me feel ashamed. It's so organized. Oh my goodness. I mean, guys, I feel honored, but the thing is, to get to this point where I have all of this in place, I have the tool wall printed. That was a project over several weeks. The filament holders have been a project for several weeks. The shelves have been a project for a couple of days. And getting, my biggest issue was actually getting the basement in a like clear out everything else that I didn't want here. And I'm still not done. So it's like, I think it's a never-ending project. But thank you for saying that I'm so organized. I would consider myself probably not the most organized person in the room, but maybe it's actually not so bad. So here is an additional paper that mentions something about the Wi-Fi connectivity. We will probably need that later. And so I would say let's start with having a look at the manual, what we need to know about the build process. Quickly have a look at the first few pages. So there's a nice package list. We'll probably refer to that later. I just want to look at the assembly steps and what we need. So we will probably have to take out everything first, because they talk about the base, which is probably just very much at the bottom of this box. So I would suggest that we take out everything first and lay it out on the table, so we have the things. Hopefully we have enough space here actually. So we can hopefully get this organized in a way that we can find the stuff. So let me see, this is probably a couple of tools. And oh yeah, there's lots of different screws in here. Screwdrivers. Nice. Actually, the screwdrivers don't look too bad. At least better than the usual Allen keys. I'd say it is. It's a pleasure, my friends. It's a pleasure to get something that doesn't look like an Allen key. So we'll definitely take a look at this. All the screws here. We have some sample filament. Yeah, this is. Yeah. How much can you actually print with this? This is 250 grams, but yeah. Let's put this to the side. I think I'm not gonna use this. Maybe this is good for something. And yeah, of course, don't want to forget to thank you to the followers. A couple of people have been following or started to follow the channel while I was actually not streaming. So I want to thank Moonlight LS92, Morris Inc. and Storby81 for following. Thank you very much. First part that we're taking out of this box seems to be the gantry frame where the printhead runs. So let's quickly take a look at this. This is the gantry where probably here we're going to mount the toolhead, and this is running on linear rails. So everywhere we have the linear rails and we have a Core XY system. So this is hopefully not too fragile, so we're going to carefully put this away. Don't want to drop it. And yeah, I'm curious if we have enough space on the table for all of this stuff. Then what is next is inside of this foamy. Let's see what we have here. This looks like something like a cover frame. Probably has some physical utilization in the printer frame. Maybe this is, this looks like it's holding part of the frame, this top frame cover, which is probably holding stuff in place. And we have some LED here, one LED strip here, which is tiny, I would say. But let's see how good this is. I'm going to put this over here. This is probably one of the last pieces that we will need. What next? Hope we're not leaving something here. This looks good. By the way, I can highly recommend that you keep all of the boxes that you buy, that come with the devices that you buy. I'm a person that I'm at least trying to keep all of the boxes for everything that I buy, because you never know. And now it turns out that it was the right decision, because I'm giving away so many 3D printers, and I still have, I would say, 90% of the boxes for the printers that I'm giving away I still have. So this is good for me, because I don't have to think about how I can package and send them. So let's take out the next two parts here. This is the printhead, obviously. But it looks like the cable is connected to the frame. So let's see, can we pull this out? I'm not sure. Well, looks very compact. I'm not sure if it is, how much of this is actually a Voron printhead. How many parts are from the Stealth Burner or something. Probably there's a few things that are different. But at first sight, I would say, there's a couple of fans mounted here, so it probably has decent ventilation, but I also read already that the ventilation or the cooling could be improved on this printer with some upgrades. But this is also what you can expect, right? This is a very low budget printer. Did not mention how much I paid. I think my price that I paid was 450 euros, including the shipping. So that was, from a Voron price perspective, very affordable. Of course, you're not getting an enclosure, which sets this apart from a kit for a Voron 2.4, which normally contains also the whole plexiglass frames and stuff, so you can build an enclosed version. But getting this printer for something like 500 or under 500 euro is actually quite cheap for a printer of this volume, and hopefully also at least an acceptable quality from the prints. So let's figure out how we can get this out of the box. This seems to be the display. That is actually tiny, but I can imagine we can also maybe replace that with a touch screen at some point in the future. What else do we have here? This is our spool holder. Probably also one of the very last things that we use. Yeah, now it turns out I don't have enough space for everything. So, move the box a bit. We have a couple of frame parts here. So I want to try to get everything out first. So one of the vertical extrusions with belts, probably running the Z, or basically running the whole frame up and down. So what I also learned is that this printer, I mean, from a Warren 2.4 perspective, this is the whole gantry is being moved up and down, and the print bed is actually fixed in place. We will see this in a couple of minutes. I don't know how long we're going to take, but probably in half an hour we'll see more of this coming together. So we have these vertical Z drives with the frame extrusions. So 4 of those. So it's getting a little tight here, and I'm wondering how I can get the tool head out. Yeah, it's connected to the base, so I can't do this independently. So this is also empty. Last but not least, we will have the base element now. So let's take this out. This is quite huge, but I mean, can we take this off without destroying something? I hope so. Okay, so I'm gonna put this away. I think we don't have anything left here, right? Okay, so good. So if I ever have to disassemble this, I hope that I can at least somehow remember how this was all coming together. So we can get this box away. Now, I think I've lost my little microphone protector here. Excuse me if this makes a little bit of scratches. Hope it's better now. So, finally, Alexander, usable loops, tubes in the box, tools. Yeah, I'm still following you on YouTube since a few months, but thank you, Storby81. Top frame, yeah. RD, SPT, the tool head seems nice, but the stealth burner probably would look cooler. Absolutely. I think from a visual point of view, this is probably not the most attractive design. So, how do we continue now? First of all, I want to give you the best perspective on the build as possible. Hope this is actually I think this currently would be the best one, because you can see more of the elements. So it's the top gantry, 4 vertical extrusions. Each one has a separate motor and a belt drive and a linear rail. We're gonna hang the gantry on. Here we have our tool head and a fairly large base, but if you think about this, this is roughly the same size of base than, for example, a smaller Bedslinger 3D printer. So I was just recently looking at the SOVOL SV06 Plus, which is a 300mm sized Bedslinger 3D printer, and it actually requires more table space than this printer. You might think why, but it's mainly because of the bed movement in this direction, in the Y direction. It is like hanging over the front, of course, quite a bit if it's in the front position, and it's also pushing a lot over the back side, and also the cable that's coming from the print bed. You don't want to like put so much strain on it, so you want to keep it away from the wall or anything behind it. And so that actually requires quite a bit of space, especially in this direction. Also the size and the X size is significant. And then you would say, if you consider the height, actually this is still a compact printer. It's hard to believe, but compared to other batch slingers, it is actually it has a completely restricted volume. This is what I find attractive about Core XPy. Not so much actually the fact that it's faster, which is true, but also the fact that if you have it somewhere and it's sitting in a place, then you can be sure that this is actually the volume that it consumes and nothing more. So that's what I like so much about this concept as well. So what do we need to do next? That's one of the interesting things on this printer. Is it possible to convert it to a stealth burner? It is probably possible because you have all of the construction files, so the molded parts and everything is open source, so you can find it on SOVOL's GitHub page. So essentially you can start modifying things, even the original parts, you can download them and just create another STL, attach something, merge it with something. And I mean, since this whole gantry has distinct mounting points and screw holes, which are pretty much standard Hyven, so these are standard linear rails, you can attach anything to this. So you could completely swap out the toolhead, obviously, because again, it's running Clipper. So if you have to modify the firmware to run a different toolhead or anything, any setting that you need to change, it is definitely possible. And I guess I didn't check it thoroughly, but there is probably already these kind of modifications available. So we're going to take the base and all of the Z components. And my question is, are they numbered in any way? Because they are mentioning Z1, 2, 3, 4. They have labels. Okay, so we have some labels here. So we probably know where anything goes. Take out the base, blah, blah, blah. Place one corner of the base component on the table. One corner. What do you mean with one corner? I think one corner is going off the table, if I'm not mistaken. So interesting. It's always interesting to read these kind of menus. Like, even though you probably know how to do stuff, it's still funny sometimes how the description is done. So here we go, right? So we have the base frame, we have the table, which is actually, it's actually drawn here. So the outline, and it says, take out the base from the packaging and place one corner of the base component on the table, right? That's why this one corner is over the table or off the table. We'll see. Probably we need to mount something from the bottom. So there is a corresponding corner mark on the installation corner of the component. Z1 components are installed in the installation positions with the Z1 mark. Blah, blah, blah. What do we need? Probably some specific screws. Align Z4 with the front panel of the base and install it to the left. After Z4 is installed and aligned with the front, pay attention. Okay. I mean, this is supposed to take an hour, if I'm not wrong. So let's figure out if we can do it this fast. Okay, so let's start with aligning the parts. Let's do this. So we'll start with Z1. Z1. Z1, this is the one. And Z1 goes to this corner, actually. And how is this supposed to work? Probably have to lift things up and align this like this. I'm wondering. Yeah, I mean, there's a little slot here which we can push in the extrusion, which is good. So for me, this looks like it should be going down. We should be able to push it. But for me, this looks like we should, at least for the first thing, we should figure out how to do this properly. So I guess the motor will be under the thing. How can we slide this in? Is it actually supposed to be sliding? I think the alignment should be a lot more up. So can we push this in some kind of slot here? Why not? I mean, I see how this is supposed to come together. The question is, how can we push it in place? So for me, it looks like it should be sliding in place. Otherwise, it's actually really don't work. And it should be sliding in there. Something like this. Here we go. Here we go. So, wasn't wrong. So it's sliding in. Okay, so I think this was I wanted to figure out how generally this will work. I think it will work the same way in the other corners. So sliding this in, and it's already, I mean, it's not fixed, but it's probably gonna fly off. We can still probably fix the first one just to be sure that it's not flying in any direction. And is there any specific order in this way? Yeah, this is, I mean, it doesn't really matter in which order you do it. It's just that you have to do the right corner in the right place. And then we have specific frame screws. And we should have a package of screws here, which are all labeled to mount this together. So let's get this stuff out. We need for each corner M430, M412, M312, M410, M4. What do we need? We don't need any of these yet. M48. One screw. How often do we need those? Okay, one M48 screw, one M515. Oh my god, so many different screws. An M440, an M540, and an M430 two times. Okay. Any specific order how we should do this? Lock them in sequence with two M540 screws, one M430, one M515, and one M48. Lock them in sequence. Okay, so then let's take the M430, M540 first. M540. This is the one that comes from the side, which should be which side? Yeah, should be this one here. Okay, so let's start with this one as per the manual. And now we can also try out these nice screwdrivers. This one is the bigger one. Looks to be working. And this is still we can still move this a bit. So I guess later on we will have to align the frame a little bit. So we have it squared. So M540 and M430, which is coming this is actually 2 coming from the top. So I guess if we have figured out one of the corners, we can probably go faster with the rest. So I'm not fully tightening all of them now, just going to insert all of the screws and then we're going to tighten everything up, trying to figure out if we have this as at least a 90-degree angle. But it's also not moving so much anymore, so I guess even if we release it a bit, it looks like it's actually not able to move anymore now. So about squaring is probably not even possible to change this, which could be good or it could be bad. So 3 screws are in place. I hope the software on this is much better than on the SV06 Plus of my brother. The printer was very tilted and we couldn't, the print was very tilted and we could it only fix with an Octoprint server. Well, that's true. If you remember, I have been upgrading my SV06. I also made a video about this. So my SV06 has lots of modifications. Right, so we have, I have done firmware upgrades, I have done physical upgrades, but mainly the main upgrade that I did to the SV06 was Clipper, and that made so much sense because it's probably one of the best upgrades that you can do to the SV06 series. So, from my point of view, we could move the table slightly back. It's not perfect positioned. We'll move it a bit, just a tiny bit, so we can see more. Actually move it even further back. So, I mean, I think it's now somewhat centered. Okay, better for you, I guess. Good. What next? We have 2 screws already in place. Then we have an M540. M430, M515 and M48. What's the M515? There's 2 screws here in this corner. The M48 is a sunken head screw, a little one, which is the lower one actually. That's going into a little bit to the side, and we need the other screwdriver. I hope we can we use 2 screwdrivers for everything? I guess not, which is a little unfortunate. So we have 2 nice screwdrivers, but this is not enough. There is different sizes required. So we're actually missing a 2.5 hex. To probably also missing smaller ones, so yeah, it's nice that they deliver something like this with the printer, but if you're only halfway able to use those for like let's say 50% of the screws. It's not the best experience. But yeah, maybe this is, I don't know how this was in the final version of the printer, if they had made some changes in that regard. So, the big one again. Where does it go? I guess this is the right hole here? Yeah. So, now we have one corner in place and mounted. And you definitely need a huge table to do this. But we're getting there. It's gonna get better soon. So now I guess nothing is wobbling here, and we can actually not change the tilting of this. So it either has to be squared or it's broken. Essentially, no way to change that. Seems so. So let's do the next corner. Again, I think it doesn't really matter in which order you do this, because everything is labeled properly, and we can just take Z2 and do this now. The cable connection will be done later, I guess. As long as we don't lock any of the cables unnecessarily in place, I hope we are good. So let's push this one in. Same. Is this actually happening easier? Oh, interesting. Was at least a little bit easier. Why? I have no idea. But that's good. Again, starting with the M4 or with the M5. The M5, okay. M540. This was the long one from the back. Use an angle grinder and cut off one corner. Yeah, bed slingers are hard to enclose. They always hit something. That was actually the surprise with the enclosure that I built. My impression was, and you've seen this, right? The enclosure is really huge. And I was thinking, hey, this should be good for the end of 3v3. And actually I had to really carefully place it, because I was realizing very soon that if you're not placing it correctly, even though it is really large, it will still, either the cable might hit the back panel, or you might hit the front panel with the bed. And so it is, even though it is 60 by 60 by 60 inner volume, not outer volume, but really the inside volume, it's still tricky to place this printer correctly. So I have my doubts about using this 60-60-60 enclosure, or it's a 68 even. I think it's even bigger. For example, for a SOVOL SV06 Plus, which could already be too big. So I will definitely try, but I have my doubts that this is enough space. Which is crazy, because think about how much table space this thing requires. It is very, very big. And my table is actually, I mean, my normal, like the working table here in the studio is big enough, it's deep enough. But my shelves in the background, for example, are only 60 centimeters, so it's already not enough to have this enclosure sitting completely on. So I would have to extend the table actually to have it fully enclosed, so it doesn't, so that no airflow can come from the bottom or something. That is actually a little crazy. So next one is M515. And we have corner, the Z2 corner done. So only 2 more to go. I'm wondering, when are they inserting the gantry? Probably that's the last thing to do, right? Just assembling. They are doing this after Z2 is installed and aligned with the front of the bottom, check whether the profile and base are buckled. Buckled? Oh well, pushed together correctly, I hope so. If this means, if I think what it means is correct. That many different screws on one corner tells me SOVOL has hired frame designer from Europe. Oh yeah, could be. I mean, why not use the same screws for everything? That's a good question, right? I have a SOVOL SV06 and the SV06 Plus, and both are running Clipper. I agree, Clipper is a great mod, but I also feel like a part cooling fan upgrade is also needed. And I actually did this on the SV06 and still have to do it on the SV06 Plus. By the way, the SV06 I gave away to a good friend, so this is also not here anymore. And well, that one thing that I need to let you know is I had, like, up until we started the giveaways, I probably had about, I would say, was it 15 3D printers? So 15 3D printers. And my wife got a little bit angry at me. So I decided, okay, we need to reduce. We settled on 5 3D printers, which is actually a little challenging for me. So I'm working on it. So I would say, like, we want to have like 4 permanent 3D printers in the studio, which makes sense because we have just enough space for that. And then we're going to have 1, which is always probably going to be something that we are building, or a printer that's a company sent me. And as soon as we don't need it anymore, or the review, or I don't know, there's not enough purpose to keep it, so to say. I got in trouble winning the Ender 3KE from you. Oh my goodness. As soon as that is done, like for example with the Ender 3v3, I'm going to give it away, or I'm gonna sell it. That depends also. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm giving away all of the printers, but I also might have to sell something because I need some budget for something. I don't know. This is a decision that I'm gonna make ad hoc, depending on what I need to do next. If I want to do a huge expensive project and probably need some budget for this, I probably have to sell one of the printers from time to time. But I actually don't want to do that so much, because selling stuff like this is also difficult. You have to basically getting yourself into trouble if you need to give warranty and stuff. Not the easiest thing, at least. So you're turning a house into the workshop. Yes, that's why I had to, like, there was, I mean, we have 3 rooms in the basement, right? So effectively we have a couple more rooms here, but we have 3 main rooms, I would say. And one is the sauna room, one is the workshop, and one is the general basement, which I occupied, right? So I occupied 3 rooms with this with my hobby. And now I have moved the printers out of the workshop, but not because I had to, like, I was forced to by anyone, but basically it was it had stuff coming into, and also wood and pellets for the heating system. There's a lot of wood dust, and generally not a good environment for something like a 3D printer long term. So I moved them out and decided the workshop's going to be the workshop, and we're going to do the dirty stuff in the workshop. And I don't want to have 3D printers in there, because it's just, you have to remove the dust every single week or something, which doesn't make sense. It's probably also not very good in terms of long-term reliability. And so the workshop's going to stay for the woodwork and painting and stuff like that. And the sauna room is still like somewhat occupied, I would say, and it's getting better, right? So we're getting there. We're getting there. Things are getting moved out, given away, sold, and then at some point we're going to have only this big room here, where this side of the studio is basically where we're filming, and the other side of the studio will also be some kind of working space for 3D printers, where we can also film stuff. But I have to remove the old furniture and get some new tables and stuff like that. Yeah. Moving forward, corner number 3 is to be done. I would say we're not turning the printer. I'm just gonna keep it as it is and just move a bit forward so we can have this part sliding in. So yeah, I just see maybe we want to turn this to another view, maybe this one, because you have been seeing this from the top for a while now. It's just gonna glue the corner here. So how is this working? So is this working same ways, as easy as the previous one? Why? Z3, yeah, that looks correct at least. Looks fine to me. Don't wanna destroy anything. Okay. Does this work? Okay, so it's not too complicated. So once you get an idea how this comes together, it's actually easy. I think it's actually easier if we would also put the last one in, because then it's more stable on the table. It's not so wobbly. So let's also slide this one in. Just have to figure out the placement first, and then you can just let it slide. So I not wanna put anything in between, not any cable or something, that we're not interfering with anything, hopefully. This one is a little harder. Why is it? Is there anything? Hope we're not getting any cable crammed in here. Okay, let's try. Okay. Can we get this down? Can we get this down? What is happening here? Why is it not going in further? Is there anything blocking me? There's this cable here. I want to be careful. Okay, this looks good. So this is good. I think we can fix everything now. Starting with the M540. So I guess we can do this in parallel. So I'm not completely making this tight yet, but almost. So M430. One, two, 3, 4. So it felt a little too easy, honestly. Ah yeah, so they are going in a little bit more, so that's why. Actually going in deeper here on this side than on the other side, so it was a little bit irritating because the screws weren't They were completely flush when I inserted them, but it's actually going in deeper here on this side at least. So we can tighten this a bit, see if it's wobbling, but that's good. Same here. So we need to still do the last two on each side. This was one thing I realized. You need to probably unscrew the stuff a bit. If it's not perfectly aligned, these last two screws are can be tricky. At least one of them was not going in so easily on the second. But it's looking good. It's working fine. Okay. And the last two. Great. So, if I'm not wrong, I mean, we need to connect a few cables now. The motors, some sensors probably. And then inserting the gantry. There's not so many parts left, to be honest. This is actually surprisingly easy. Not so complicated. First I got in trouble was when my wife found 3 filament spools in TV stand drawer. Oh my goodness, these are the problems. Next competitions, he says, I'm banned from entering or winning. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's true because you won twice, right? So it's like Spline was a lucky person to win 2 different huge boxes from me. So you probably don't want to enter the next one unless we do something very small in the future. No mercy. Can't wait until I get my SOVOL SV08. Should have it by the end of the month. Yeah. I'm curious if you're also happy with the printer. We'll see if this thing works. I suggest you prepare for the trench war. Yeah, that's what you have to fight for your hobby. That's for sure. Alexander, we are already there. I'm going to be banned to the shed in the garden soon. She says, I can get food through the cat lab. My goodness. This is so good. This is so good. Not the shed. But hey, you can make the shed another project, right? There is a YouTube channel that's, I think it's also called The Shed, where this guy, he likes always to test solar panels, batteries, chargers, just to make the shed that he has completely independent from main power. So the shed itself could be a project, and then you could run your 3D printers with solar power from the shed. So make it your project. Like, maybe it's not the worst to have the shed as your external workshop. Alexander, it's a good shed. It's insulated and I do have power down there, many power tools. Yeah, awesome. And soon a sleeping bag. You know which battles to fight. My shed is already pretty good. I designed it and built it myself. My shed is my fortress. Okay. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. That's how we should do it, right? So we should make ourselves independent. No one can ban us. Okay, so I've done assembly step number, well, there's actually no numbers here, page 7. We're still not connecting any cables if I'm not wrong. Where does this happen? Probably later. Yeah, just connecting the cables. It's one of the last steps here. So next step is we're actually using this top frame, which is surprising me why we're not doing the gantry first. I mean, logically, honestly, if we look at the manual, you can tell me what you think, but like the next step is we're gonna close the frame from the top. And then once we've done that, we are going to insert the gantry into this frame. But if you look at the picture, we actually have to tilt it to get it in. And then what we're essentially just doing, we're just gonna place it on all 4 corners here and mount it. So why not do that first, right? I mean, logically, I would do this first because then I just put it down and then we're gonna do the closing of the top. But yeah, let's follow the manual, right? So let's not try to deviate too much. Maybe they have thought about this. I don't know. So where is the corner supposed to be going? We have the front, where we have the screen, and what is going to the front is going to be the logo, which is this side. So now comes the moment of truth. Does this all come together correctly? Or is it in any way, anyhow skewed or tilted? Seems not. What I would do, because I realized I had to push these 2 corners a tiny bit to get them into this frame, I will shortly, I will just release the main screws a bit, just for a second. Just gonna release it a bit. And then I'm gonna retighten that once this top frame is mounted. At least this could remove a little bit of the strain, if there is any. This could help that these, like if we have to, like it was a little bit too pushing required to get this into the frame. So if we just release, I hope this is better. I might be wrong, but theoretically this can help. So I would suggest that we first mount the top frame and then we're gonna retighten all of the screws. So we have the least amount of strain here on these corners. So even though it might be a little wobbly now, we're gonna do this. So top screws, what is this? M3 by 6 for everything. Surprise, surprise, we have the same screw for everything. Where are these? M3 by 6. Do we have 8 pieces? Okay, 8 pieces, 2 per corner. And what screwdriver will fit is the question. The small one fits, okay. So let's do this. So far, I think it's not too complicated. Definitely more work than any other printer from SOVOL. But still not comparable with the Voron. If you think about Voron, I mean, first of all, you have to print a lot of the frame parts, or basically everything that is not an extrusion. That takes you, I mean, that requires you to have a good printer. And that printer needs to be able to print ABS or high temperature material if you want to make the printer really rigid. Otherwise, if you try to print Voron parts with PLA, I think this is the worst choice that you can make. Never gonna be able to print anything that requires higher temperature. And also not the elasticity that you probably need for the frame, different parameters that are also important. So ABS is, in my opinion, is a must-have, or even better. I mean, ABS is also not the best material for everything, but it is at least something that is very good for a Voron. And so, yeah, you should have already a printer that can do this. And then you can start printing all of the stuff and then assembling. Just like if you remember the little one here, the Voron 0 that we did, that took a couple of evenings just for the assembly. Not talking about how long it took to print all the stuff. That was also quite a lot of work. And yeah, probably takes you a long time compared to this one here. So let's fix everything here. Finally. And looks good. So, frame is coming together. Off-grid printing is the next step. Alexander. Nice. And you can declare independence. I love that. Spline. I'm good. I have main 24-volt in my shed. Good for stereo, kettle, and table saw to run at the same time. That's great. But it's probably like main power, right? So it's not solar power, which would be, I mean, from a shed perspective, let's say your wife decides to cut the power because the opinion is you shouldn't be in this room, or he wants you to come out. Maybe independent power would also be an option, right? And the mini fridge, of course. PETG, yeah, for a Voron printer, I'm skeptical, honestly. I'm not sure if this is what I would use. I would rather go with the ABS. There's so many alternative materials now, though the best material that I've used so far in terms of ABS is definitely the ABS-X that I've been using for the Z100. It is a fantastic material. It's easy to print. Theoretically, smaller parts print also without an enclosure. And the Voron 0 is for sure. It deserves actually a better place. It's now very much hidden in the corner, but it's definitely, from a quality perspective, the material is fantastic. But it's probably also the manufacturer and the mixture that they have. So, assembly. How do we insert it? First, understanding where we are looking. So they are doing this from the back side, actually. So let's figure out what is the top and what is the bottom. The motors are going to be oriented down, and we're coming from the back and we're inserting it like this. Back side, front side. Is this correct? So motors should be at the back and it's open to the front. And now we are going to sit. There is a couple of tapes here. I'm not sure why. This is holding some cables in place. Okay, and then should be sitting on the linear rails or linear on the shuttles. Okay, so is this already in the place where it should be? Good question. For me, it looks like it is sitting on these shuttle parts which are running up and down. So far, I think we're good. We're gonna figure out which screws we need to mount this. So, take 2 M430 screws from the spare parts package and lock them into the mounting screw holes. Okay, let's start. First, AB shaft rear end installation. Take out 2 M430 screws from the spare part. When locking the screw, you need to adjust the mounting hole position of the AB axis and the mounting threaded hole of the Z front side axis component, and then lock the screws. If necessary, you can pull the AB axis frame to align the holes. Okay, it looks at least like we are using the same screws for everything. Okay. Hopefully this is, we should have 8, right? 1, 2. Yeah, we have 8. Is this enough? Looks like. Let's do this. Can't imagine how long it would take to just to assemble the gantry for the Voron 2.4. Probably days. Okay, so alignment is maybe a tricky thing. So we're actually hitting the threads of the underlying part, which seems to be not, at least not yet, working. Okay, why not? When locking the screws, you need to adjust the mounting hole position of the AB axis and the mounting threaded blah blah. You can pull the AB axis frame to align the holes. You can pull the frame. Oh, what does it actually mean? Can we, should we push it into position? Yeah, maybe. Here it seems to be working. So let's start somewhere. Okay. So can we hit, are we hitting the thread here? Yes. Here we seem to be aligned. Wondering where the cable is. Somewhere we should have a motor cable coming. Very curious how this is going to work. Here we're not hitting the thread. Why am I not hitting the thread if we have one corner screw already in and we're not hitting this thread here? Why? So, which direction do we need to pull? And I don't, of course I don't want to destroy anything here. So it sounds like this is sitting correctly, however, hitting the thread seemed rather a bit tricky. Not sure. can we make this align? Surprisingly, this is not as easy. So this one here doesn't get into the thread. This one is the in, at least one is aligned. Why not here? Why not here? What's going on? I mean, it sits in the right position, and I can actually see that the thread is... Well, we need more light here. It's too dark. Let me double check this. We're just on top, right? Why not? Why are you not going in, my friend? You are in the right position. What is happening here? Is this just a, I don't know, how, a 1/10 of a millimeter? Yeah, exactly. It was just so little, such a little misalignment. Okay, so this corner is working fine. So this is a little tricky. At least we need to align very, very correctly, so very much precisely. This corner here still not working. Let's try the other way around. Start with the corner one first. Get some light. It's definitely helpful. Which direction are we looking? I think we need to pull a little bit. And that works. So a little bit of pushing and pulling will align the frame above these threads. Which was, yeah, not too complicated. What's happening in chat? Me too. I also occasionally print nylon for some small mechanical parts. That's actually what paid off the printer. I've tried Story 81. I've tried ABS Plus in the near past on my Prusa Mini Plus without an enclosure. It works really well, but in my office where the Mini is located, I have about 26 degrees Celsius at the moment. In winter, that could be much more difficult. Exactly, yeah, temperature is always a topic. Yeah, expensive mechanism fails because one of cheap part in the past, it had to be replaced entirely as separate parts were not available, and now even the whole thing is not produced anymore. What are you talking about? This was something that you modded. That's why I modded NF3 to be able to print nylon 20K worth machine down because of 10-cent part, yeah. That can happen. That's why we love 3D printing so much, right? Because we can repair these kind of things by either just reprinting stuff or redesigning parts. And very much cheap replacement is possible. And I did the same for someone here from the region where they had a table saw. It was a miter saw that was where the cover was broken, and they just brought it here. I scanned it and did a reconstruction from the scan, and we just printed out a new cover and worked. Basically just the first print that I did, just gave it to them and it worked perfectly. So it was really a nice surprise for them, and for me it was another proof that 3D printing can actually solve these kind of issues. It's a little too, yeah, it was little effort. I would say zero effort is not correct. It was quite a lot of work. terms of time investment. So we have the gantry fixed. Gantry is fixed. Assembling the filament holder. How does it get mounted? That is an interesting question. There needs to be some counterpart here. Here we go. So this goes on top. But how do we mount this and where do we mount this? It's probably here. This is probably on this side. And like this. So what kind of screws do we need? M4 by 10. There is exactly 2 for this. Yeah, there's a lot of different screw sizes. And I'm wondering why that has to be, because honestly you probably could just, like a Voron, that's maybe the thing about Voron. They use how many different screw sizes? I mean, lengthwise they use lots of different, but from a diameter perspective, diameter is, I think all of the screws are the same diameter and they all have the same head. So at least their tool, you can use the same tool for almost everything. I mean, there could be, I don't know, like honestly, maybe could be 1 or 2 exceptions, but 99% is the same diameter and head size. So filament holder and filament sensor are in place. Hopefully in the right place. But there is no other place to do this. Part more reliable when the original plus service hours are charged paid off for printer quickly. Yeah. How do we mount it? Extruder module. This is all still to be done. Yeah, exactly. So we have the extruder here. Where do we run the cables? This is one of the questions that are very important because we don't want this to be tangling up somewhere. So I don't want to make a mistake here. Where is this going? Please take off the cover before assembling the nozzle. Isn't the nozzle assembled already? It should be. Yeah, it is. So maybe that was something after the fact. So the cover and the assembly, why should we do this? Then we need to, we still need to take it off because we need to mount it. 3 M3 by 12 screws to lock and tighten on the nozzle mounting sheet metal. Then connect the heatsink that was pulled out in the previous step. The M412 fan wire terminal, M412 fan wire terminal. After connecting the terminal, install and remove the nozzle cover. Interesting is that there is no clear drawing here which is showing us how we should route the cables. So my question is, what is the best way to route the cables so we're not entangling anything here? So this is the tool head disassembly that's required to mount this to the shuttle here. And then we have one mounting point here up in the corner of the frame or on the side where we probably have to attach the cables, at least that part. I guess that we want to run the cable inside of the frame. I'm pretty sure that we want to keep the things inside. Then we have this part here, which is holding the cables up. Not sure exactly how it will be positioned, but at least I guess it needs to be somewhere here. Is it? No, it's supposed to be here. Okay, here at the back. That drawing is so tiny, honestly, it's not ideal. I mean, you can guess how it's done, but it is not in the picture. It's not really drawn properly. At least they are not showing you exactly how the cables are running. They just show you this little tiny picture here in the corner where you can see, okay, the cable needs to be somehow attached to some part of the frame, and if you guess correctly, this is the gantry and not the frame. And then there is no further. There's some drawing where this is explained a little bit better. Yeah. Not so, I mean, not so obvious, I would say. It's not so obvious. You can guess, but you need to guess right? So it's not clear. So for me, this looks like, okay, we are in the right spot at least. These two cables are probably for this motor and this motor. There's another one here, which is, we need to figure out what that is for. But this is the spot where we have the cable, and we have the cables going underneath from this perspective. So let's do mounting of the tool head first, and then we're gonna fix the cable in its correct position. So how does it work? Can we take the cover off? Yes. Or unplug the cool fan. This is glued in place. Good. And now, do we have all of these holes accessible? That is a good question. We need 3 mounting points. And yeah, I guess we can actually align this. Looks good. Good. Then we have 3 mounting screws, M312, which we will use to attach this thing to the gantry. And again, this screwdriver doesn't work, so we need another diameter. Okay, we have 3 screws to do here. One is at the bottom, this corner here. Number 1. And 2. And 3. Okay. So, make sure that this is tight. Okay, so we're going to put the cover back. And we'll have the plug here. And this is magnetic, so it just slaps on like this. Hopefully this is the right orientation. Okay, I'm wondering if this is going to stay connected to the magnets, even if we're printing faster. So far, so good. Last screw in the package seems to be for this cable holder. Please pay attention to the direction of the blue Teflon pipe buckle to avoid hitting the tool head cover. This is probably this blue thing here. Yeah, okay. That's good. So I'm fixing this cable tree, however you want to call this, cable holder to the frame. Makes sense. It's the only place where this works. Then we can probably remove this paper and figure out which cable has to go where. So we have a couple different cables to do. We have a short one and a long one. Probably the short one goes here and the long one goes there. So we're gonna see in a second where this comes together. A wire harness, okay. Hope we didn't rotate it. Did we? Not sure if we did rotate this thing. If we did rotate this cable, we probably have to remove the tool head or something. This looks fine, but this one is at least could be that we have one rotation in here. Let's figure out later. I think it's still good. Not too worse. Then we have the display. Let's put this on. The touch screen is actually just pushed on the frame. 2 cables in the front. EXP1 and EXP2. And we have nice labels here so we don't miss the right connector. EXP1. And EXP2. And it's actually funny that they still use these kind of cables. Why not use USB-C for this or HDMI? Okay, so we'll slide this on, click in place. We can take off this plastic cover. Okay, so screen is mounted. That was easy. There was a question if I would get the enclosure for this printer. I'm not so sure. I would rather try to put this into my new enclosure because we have built this nice enclosure now. We could probably just put this thing in and it should fit in because I think it's just big enough to fit this printer. Well, I'm gonna try. I'm curious if I can get it through the doors. Maybe something to test out next week. For now, gonna keep it unenclosed. So let's see what we do next. What is the next step? Probably connecting all of the wires. So display is connected. Here we have a couple dozen cables that we need to do. Okay, now where do we start? Where do we start? Camera butt connector. Camera butt connector. This is funny. Where is the camera? Here in this little corner. We have the camera and we have some kind of camera cable. Is this not the black one? It's probably not. But the camera cable is somewhere here. Ah, okay. I see. It's actually in a place where I didn't expect it to be. So the cable runs to the back here. And is this the right connector? No. Where do we connect this to? These are 6 pins. And we probably want to connect it this way, but the question is, do we want to fix the cable somehow? Somewhere under the frame? maybe underneath the frame. So one of the questions I still have is like, how do we properly run the cables that we're not potentially interfering with any part of the gantry or moving things. So if this is the cable, probably want to, how far is this coming back? Okay, so we still have a little bit of space here for cable management. We have one little zip tie connector here, or is some place where we can have a zip tie. And this is good. And we probably want the cable to be running here on the back. So I'm gonna leave it as this. Then we have motors. Here is one motor. It's called the Y motor. We have a cable that's called X. So how are these motors then labeled? X-axis motor connection, Y-axis motor connection. Okay, that is the X. Let's plug this in. Let's plug this one in. Opposite side. Cables are still kind of hanging around. We have to figure out how we can properly fix them or with zip ties. Then we have another cable up here, which is, well, there's some tape here. Is this the, there's another one here, and wondering where this has to go. Still looking for some kind of extension. There is also a slot cover for some cable. Let's figure out where this starts to go. So this is most likely the filament sensor cable up here. That's also hanging around. Maybe we want to fix it somewhere up here using the zip ties. Yeah. There's also a light wire for the LED. Now we have another connector down here. It's probably only way how it works is this one. Okay, so what was that? That is the filament sensor. Okay, this was the opposite connector. What else? On the bottom of the printer, we still have to do the motors, which is when we have to tilt the thing. But let's see what else we have to do here at the top. The motors here are connected. Filament sensor is connected. The connection here to the bottom is done. Here at the front we have one cable that's coming out of the frame, and there's no counterpart. What is this? We have another cable that is fixed on the frame here with some tape. Okay, this is a small connector for an end stop. Then another little cable up here for the LED, most likely. LED strip, hello. Interesting question is how to orient this. This is a super small connector. It's very, very small. So we want to put it in the right direction, in the right orientation, not to destroy this. Okay. Is it interfering with anything? I hope not. I hope not. there's not much cable left, so it's very much a little bit under stress. Hope this is not a problem. And there is camera cover we can remove. No other cable, at least from my point of view, which is left here at the top. And we still have to do some cable management with zip ties and stuff. And there is a cover here to cover something. But the question is what? So we have those here already. We have a V slot here. This could be for, this could actually be for this motor cable. This makes sense. Makes sense to keep it like this. At least it would make sense to keep it like this. So we have that motor cable covered in the slot. The only thing left here is just a zip tie for the filament sensor cable and also for the other motor cable. So let's fix this in place. Let's do some cable management now, because we otherwise gonna forget later. So we're in line. We want to have the cables nicely stored, and nothing is scratching on the frame. That looks much better now. Can still run the frame properly, hopefully. Except maybe this cable here. This is a little bit too far protruding. And I would also add a zip tie here. So, you can't see everything that I'm doing here, but just trying to keep the cables from the gantry. So in the end, we don't have nothing interfering with the moving parts. Yes, it has a camera. The printer has a camera. We'll definitely check it out. I'm not sure if this was, I think this was a stretch goal on the Kickstarter campaign, but it should be default by now for all of the models that you, like all of the orders that you can do. Is there, here up here we still have this cable dangling down. Let's use this mount. They have at least put some mounting points here where you can have your cables connected or fixed with zip ties, which is good. So we don't have to print this stuff. And then we have a last, I'm not sure what this is actually meant to be, but this is probably also, is this something that we can leverage for running the cable? Or is it for the filament? This looks more like the filament and the PTFE tube. I'm wondering, to be honest, now that I'm seeing this, I'm actually wondering where the PTFE tube is. That's supposed to be most likely supposed to be running in this from the filament sensor to the toolhead. There seems to be, at least the idea is that the PTFE goes straight through this hole and then to the toolhead, but there is no PTFE tube. So I don't see it. Maybe it's taped to the frame somewhere at the bottom. Let's find out. Let's tilt. Still need to, anyways, need to tilt this thing now because we need to connect the cables. Oh, goodness, this is actually heavy. So, any PTFE tube? No. Okay. This is strange. was first removing the tape here, but yeah, need to figure out, maybe this is still in the box and I just didn't see it. Let me figure this out. Honestly, I didn't see anything in the box. There's nothing left here. Unless they have really hidden this in a very distinct spot, but honestly, no. So for me, that means they might have forgotten to ship this. Might actually have forgotten to. What kind of camera view is this? What is happening? Why is it dark now? What's going on? What are you doing? Oh, temperature. Okay, let's do. The camera did overheat for some reason. Never happened. Never happened before. Okay. Camera overheated. Yeah, could be. I had the display closed, so maybe that was too much heat. So let's keep it open. Let's keep it open. Okay. Okay, what I want to do now. Connecting the cables here at the bottom. There is 4 motor cables, which is super easy because you can't mistake them. They're just all cables are just next to the motor connector, so it's very obvious. Just plug them in, and that's it. And nothing more to do here. So I'm gonna check last time we missed any connectors. Here is nothing to do. All of the cables are connected. Let's do a last check. So just looking underneath if we somewhat missed anything, but all of these connectors are good. The cables are not interfering with anything. Seems so, at least here. Maybe you can fix that a little bit. But here we have all of the plugs in. Last one up here. Probably want to cut the thing off. We still need some PTV tube. There should be 3 pieces, one short PTV, a coupler, and another longer PTV tube. The thing really is, I mean, it is not, there's nothing here. So, I mean, we took nothing out of the box instead, except what we already had. I double checked the box content. I can also triple check the box content. I think that they missed to put the PTV tube in, at least for my printer. So otherwise I would be wondering where they could have hidden this. It's not attached anywhere to the frame. No tape or something left over, so potentially where they could have put the PTV, but I don't see that this is here. Let's not waste time on this. I mean, I have some PTV tube left over here. It's not a problem. Let's take it from the Bamboo Lab. Actually a longer one. So here we go. The question is more, how long does it have to be? This is likely a bit too long, but yeah, let's figure this out. So we want to move the tool head to the corner, far away from here. So we have it here. How much do we need? So probably want to, I think it's definitely turned one rotation, unfortunately. Damn it. So let's fix this quickly. So we're gonna take off this thing again and just turn it so it doesn't look like this. So it's a little bit too, I think it's one rotation that we need to do. Unfortunately, thought we had it, but we didn't. We didn't do this properly. Didn't check this before. Okay, so let's try this. So actually, it's great that we can take this off so easily, because it's really just one screw to do. Disconnecting this. Disconnect. So how do we have to turn this? One rotation, is this enough? This looks okay. I mean, one more rotation is probably too much. Yeah, this is probably good. So let's connect this back. We'll have to untangle the PTFE now, but no problem. We are getting close. Getting close to getting this done. Get this in, friends. Here we go. Last one. Where is it? Here. Okay. Cable. And that's it. Let's just get it right. Sitting flush here. What's going on? Okay, magnets are connected. So we just need to take off the PTFE tube one more time. So let's put it on this side. On the lock piece in place. So I guess now we can just use a couple of zip ties to have it like this. I think 3 should be good. That's also going to help to hold this a little bit up, at least, so it's not falling down into the gantry area. 1, 2, 3. Now we can double check how it works, if it works and moves. So we have enough, the cable and the PTFE should be long enough. We shouldn't have any like strain or something. I think this is good enough. So enough space to run. And the question is, should we make it a little shorter now? I think it's just right, actually. Enough PTFE and not too short. So I'm going to cut it right here so we can run it into the sensor. So let's find a good spot to cut it. Just right here. And let's do this. So it goes into the filament sensor, and that's it. So, good. Well done. I hope so. I remember it was in a box with the tools, yeah, but there is nothing. Nothing in the box. They just forgot this for me, obviously. But yeah, not a big deal. Okay, so far we did this correctly. I mean, there is other cable fixations. We didn't have to use the zip ties. Okay, there is also these other similar 3Ts, how they call it. Okay, 3Ts. What is a 3T? So could have done this differently. I'd use zip ties. Okay, fair enough. Let's see, what else is to be done? Is there anything else left? No. They already talk about the screen. Screen. Insert filament. If I'm not mistaken, it's time to turn this thing on. Let's do it. We need a power cable. I actually had my last one removed lately because of the giveaway. So let's turn on the printer, and we get do we get any smoke? Magic smoke or nothing? I'm curious. Moment of truth, my friends. Turn the printer on. Oh my goodness, this is not very silent. System booting, and we probably want to figure out if we can reach the printer, if we can connect it to the Wi-Fi. There's also some guide here. Use the USB flash drive included in the machine's accessory package and insert it in your computer to access its contents. Search for the file named Wi-Fi config within the drive. Open the Wi-Fi config using Notepad, blah blah. Can we not do this with the screen? So the printer screen shows temperature. Okay, so from that point of view, it seems to be working, but we still have to figure. Can we connect the Wi-Fi from here? It seems to be no way to do this. Information, blah, blah, blah. Advanced. Okay. Filament, move, control. Let's try to home the printer first. And let's see if that works. The most important question, does the printer actually work and move correctly? So far, it does move. And it's homing. It's homing. Okay, so it didn't crash into the bed, so the sensor seems to be working. There is, the question here was, did you get the silicone brush? There is one for the nozzle wiping, and it's in this little corner here. It's in the back right corner, there's the silicone brush. And there's also a probe point. Let's look from the top. these two things. Here is the brush, and here is probably the probing point where the probe goes down and touches to figure out the Z distance. Let's see. So what we probably want to do is some kind of calibration first. Preheat, blah blah. We probably want to preheat the printer a little bit before we do this. And this is also a good test to figure if the temperature sensors and the heaters are working. So the printer is heating up. Hot end is coming up. The heated bed is heating up. That looks great. And in the meanwhile, I will try to figure out this Wi-Fi thing, because we definitely want to see the printer menu and the, I don't know what they have, mainsail or fluid. So I will quickly do the file modification as per the manual. Wi-Fi config, okay, open with Visual Studio. Is this good? Save. So what do we need to do with this? Do we need to okay, so we need to insert the USB while turning it on, or before actually doing that. Eject, okay. There is USB port over here on the side. Okay, so the heat up seems to be working. Let's turn this off. Turn it on. So we'll see in a second if we have a good Wi-Fi connection. There is a menu item here that is supposed to show us the IP address, so we're gonna check that as soon as possible. Come on, boot up. Still taking a second. And you can see there is the light going on. So let's see, what do we find here in terms of IP? Advanced, show IP. Shows me nothing. It's not connected. 127.0.0.1 is not what I need. This is not what I need. We can alternatively connect to the Ethernet port if Wi-Fi doesn't work for some reason. Let me try again and find out. Yeah, it's not very practical. That's true. Don't like that so much. Honestly, we should figure out. There's a problem with the drive. Yes. No. Fix the drive. Okay. So I'm going to double check again this file. Maybe I did something misconfigured, something in the Wi-Fi settings. So let's double check. Yeah. I hope I can check the alternative, the Wi-Fi settings. Let's double check that. Not now. Interesting. I definitely used the right password, the right Wi-Fi name. So, is there anything else to do? So we need to do this again. So we need to show IP again and wait a couple of seconds. Okay, does this help? So if we do find IP for the first time, it will show 127.0.0.1, which is currently what I see here. And then use the knob to navigate the screen's menu and select the advanced menu again. And it should show you the IP, but it's not connecting. In my opinion, this is not working. Okay, so let's use Ethernet and figure out what's going on. Can probably do what is happening here. So we can probably find out about what is installed and how to change the settings if we have Ethernet. You just need a cable which is long enough. Let's borrow this one here. Okay, so I'm connecting an Ethernet cable. So let's find out if this worked. Show IP. Okay, that worked. Okay, so I'm gonna connect to the IP address and we will have a look at the menu. If we can see this screen sharing. So this is what we get. We have some, if you're not familiar with Clipper, this might be a little confusing, to be honest, because this is a completely different view, but you can already see we have the camera here. Hello, hello, hello. We can see what's going on at the printer. We can see the temperatures. We have, we can move the toolhead and change all kinds of speed settings here. And now I want to see the printer configuration. Can I get some? Can I change? It's a good question. Can I change the Wi-Fi settings from here? Probably not. Not so easy. Config examples. So that might be an issue that I need to figure out how to do this, but we're not going to make this our main problem now. So we know at least now that we can connect to the printer. What we should do is we should do another homing and create a height map. So basically a bed mesh for the printer. So what can we do, or what should we do? What they explain here in the manual is we talk about the Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if this is actually working, to be honest. We can try this at a later point in time. Then we want to insert filament. Okay, let's do this. Take some filament. Yeah, let's take something like the red one. This one is already used. Okay, this looks good. Red filament. And I'm pushing this in, and we can see in a second if the filament sensor works. I'm going to show you in the clipper menu how to double check or how to understand if the filament sensor is working. So once we push this in, you can scroll down here and see filament sensor detected. It's very small. Maybe make it a bit larger. So here we can see filament sensor detected, and here we can also disable the filament sensor, right? So if you don't want to use the filament sensor, we can re-enable. Firmware upgrade is usually done through, let me see, machine. Do they support this actually? I'm not sure if they have enabled this. It's possible that they have not enabled firmware updates through the printer menu. That's a good question. Normally you can upgrade your clipper stuff through the menu. So let's figure out what they offer on their website. SOVOL S08 firmware. Firmware download. The question is this something they offer from here? 3D printers, SOVOL. Is this a store? Good question. Support. Why is it German? Why is this in German? Can you please give me the English page? My friends of SOVOL, what are we doing here? Ship from US. Is there any support page available? Support blocks, auto track, blah blah blah. Why is there no software download here? I believe the info is on Wiki and not on GitHub. That is a good question. So let's figure out. SV06 firmware. This is something else. Maybe this is what we're looking for. SV06 USB files? No. USB firmware upgrade. eMMC adapter. Troubleshooting, how to update eMMC image file tutorial. Do we want to watch a video now? Flash firmware. Is there any description how to do this in a written form? Need to use eMMC adapter. What is an eMMC adapter? I'm sorry. Does anyone know what that means? Flash tutorial. Okay, let's find out. After the U disk is formatted, copy the depth file and then insert the U disk after the machine is powered on and starts normally. During the firmware upgrade progress, the screen cannot be operated. Firmware versions. Insert the USB flash drive and wait for 3 minutes, then manually turn off the power and restart to complete the upgrade. After 226, the update is about 1 minute and will automatically restart. There's no need to manually turn off the power and restart to complete the update. Okay, copy the depth file and then insert the U disk after the machine is powered on. Okay. So should we format the USB disk? I mean, what we can do is we can copy everything, save it to my desktop and make a new folder SV08 USB disk contents. I'm just gonna copy the stuff so that we have it. And then we can, I'm fine to format the drive